Hey guys, what's up? It's Amanda. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to day 8, I think, of Vlogmas. Today's video has been very long overdue and very heavily requested, and I wanted to make it once I had been off orientation for a while and kind of had my own groove and shift flow and all that fun stuff. So today's video is a typical shift as a postpartum nurse. So if this is your first time seeing me, hello, I'm Amanda. I am a new grad RN. I work on a postpartum floor, mother baby unit, whatever you may call it. I do not work in labor, just so you know. I work after the fact. So I wrote down, organized my thoughts of like a typical normal workflow on a typical normal, not super busy day on postpartum. I work night shift, so day shift is slightly different. Day shift, you have a lot more discharges, and that's mainly the difference. Is I don't really discharge people on nights, which is kind of nice. So I am going to go through a 12-hour shift because I typically work 12-hour shifts. 8-hour shifts, pretty similar, just a little bit less. I don't know. Okay, we're gonna go through a 12-hour shift. So my shift starts at 7 p.m. So 7 p.m. All of the nurses who are working at 7 p.m. we have a little huddle with the charge nurse, kind of go through any new information, any announcements for people, if there's any like hot spots is what we call it, like any patients on MEG, any high risk preeclamptic, any NAS babies. That's pretty much it. Also, if we're just really busy, we also just talk about that too. So that usually lasts like 5 minutes. Lasts longer on days, but nighttime we just are ready to go. So so I get up to the unit around 7:05. I typically get up there, grab a piece of paper. I'm gonna make a whole different video about my brain sheet and how I actually organize my shift, because that's gonna take a while to get through, and I want this video to not be a half an hour long. So that will be a different video, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video when it comes out. It'll probably not be part of Vlogmas. It'll probably come in like January sometime, but keep an eye out for that. So from like the time I get upstairs to like 7:30, hopefully 7:30, so that the day shifters can go home. I get report from the previous shift. We do bedside report, so we go into each room, talk about everything. If I've had the patients before, it goes a lot faster. If they're all new patients, or if I'm getting a report from multiple different nurses, it can take a little bit longer. I usually, when I'm in the room, will ask them what their goals are for the night, if they have anything they really want to get done. If they are not first-time parents, I usually ask like if they're planning on discharging that next morning, if they want to have a 24-hour discharge, just to make sure that I can get all their tasks done throughout the night to not put that on day shift. I also usually ask if they want to be woken up for feedings, if they want me to come in and make sure that they're awake. Usually parents are really good about setting an alarm, but I'll still peek my head in just to make sure they didn't oversleep because they're exhausted. I also ask if they want to be woken up for pain meds. We do have scheduled pain meds for vaginal. They usually get scheduled ibuprofen every 6 hours, and C-section they usually get scheduled ibuprofen, Tylenol every 6 hours, and then they can have Dilaudid too if they want, but Dilaudid is PRN. So I also ask if they want to be woken up for their scheduled pain meds, or if they just want to call if they're awake around that time, because sleep is a priority, but also pain management is a priority. So once I'm done getting report from everyone, it's like 7:30-ish. I will sit down at a computer, go through everyone's chart, kind of organize my day on my brain sheet, which again, coming in a different video, kind of see where my gaps are, when would be a good time to take a break, write down all their pain med times, all their different med times. Everyone on postpartum gets a scheduled 9 p.m. colace. So that's not scheduled, like it doesn't have to be given at 9 p.m. Like if they have pain meds due at 10, I'll usually just bring it in there. See if people have Q4 vitals, when last time their vitals were taken. Otherwise I just have to do it once in my shift. And then basically from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. I am in and out of everyone's room helping with feeds, doing 12-hour tasks if applicable, or 24-hour tasks if applicable. At my hospital we delay bath until we hit 12 hours. It helps with thermoregulation. We also do swaddle baths. If you don't know what that is, Google it or YouTube it. They're really awesome. Basically you keep baby in a swaddle, stick them in the tub, warm water over the swaddle, you uncover one arm or leg at a time, keeps them a lot warmer, keeps them a lot happier. Another 12-hour task is the hearing screen. Typically the CNAs do that. Sometimes if they're super duper busy or there's a lot of babies that need hearing screens, we can do that. Babies need to be sleeping for that though. It goes a lot quicker. The last 12-hour task for baby is their hepatitis B vaccine. I typically like to give that with the bath because they're already pissed off at you for taking them out of the tub, so why not just add in a little bit more. It also is a lot more sanitary if they're already bathed when you give it to them. So 24-hour tasks, lab will come and poke baby's heel and get their bilirubin level, and then Wisconsin has, I think all states have like a state metabolic screening that they do, but I think it's regulated by the state how many things they're actually testing for anyway. So they do that with the bilirubin check, and then we do a congenital heart screening test thing. Basically we just put the oxygen saturation thing on baby's right hand and either foot, and we look at the difference between the two. 8 to 11, a lot of those tasks, vitals on moms and babies, helping with feeds, pain meds, everything that is scheduled for that chunk of time. Then once it hits 11 o'clock, it is officially night shift, so I can do my full assessments on everyone. The way my hospital works is people can work 8s or 12s. There's AMs, PMs, night shift. If you're a 12-day worker and then like you have a 12-night worker come in, typically the day worker does the AM and PM assessments, and then the night shift person does the night shift assessment, but can't be charted until 11 p.m. So I typically try not to even do them until 11 p.m. When doing handoff, or if I'm in those rooms at the time and they're not like scheduled like Q4 vitals, I'll be like, hey, if you're awake anytime after 11, call me in, I'll come in, do your guys' vitals, assessments, we'll get baby's weight. That's one thing that we do on night shift that day shift doesn't do, is every night we get baby's naked weight just to make sure they are not losing weight too quickly. It is super duper common. Like almost every single baby will lose weight after they're born. We measure it as a percentage that just gets plugged in and the computer generates it. Anything over 10% is where we start to get a little bit worried. Depending though, like C-section babies tend to lose a lot more weight in the first night because the moms are pumped full of fluids during surgery. Also, when people have epidurals, they tend to lose more weight in the first 24 hours just because they're getting rid of all that extra water weight. I'd say about 11 to 12:30 is when I am in all of my rooms doing vitals, assessments, and weights. By the way, typically I have 3 rooms. Usually each room is 1 couplet, so 6 patients. Sometimes if you have a NICU mom, then you'll just have 5 patients. If you have a mom with twins, then you might just have that room and another room. Yeah, so all of these things are happening in 3 rooms on a typical day. So after like 12:30, when I'm done with everyone's vitals and assessments, I will go through and like finish the full charting. Usually when I'm in the room, I try to clock in the weight and vitals and fundal check and that stuff, but like the rest of the full assessment I will go back and chart later. So like 12:30 to 1ish, I'm charting that, and then around 1 is when I like to try and take my break. It's about halfway through the shift. At that time, I'm usually starting to get hungry again, so take my break for half an hour. Then I get back on the floor. It's about 1:30. I'll usually round on all my patients, just peek my head in, see what's going on, what do they need help with, if they're awake, if they're not. And then from like 1:30 to 5:30, I'm doing more help with feeding, pain meds, vitals if they're Q4. If we have a baby that is less than 2,500 grams, or I think also less than 37 weeks, we do a car seat test for them. Typically that doesn't happen on the first night, just to let them adjust, but if it's their second night and I have time, I will try to get that done with. It usually lasts about 90 minutes. We keep baby in a car seat. They are hooked up to EKG and oxygen, and basically to pass, they just need to keep their stats up for the whole 90 minutes, just to make sure that they can manage their breathing and regulate everything while they're sitting at like this kind of angle. That is till about 5:30, and then 5:30 I'll make it a point to sit down at the computer again, make sure I have all my charting done, start charting their education and care plan notes. Yes, we still do care plans. It's very different than nursing school though. We use Epic, so if you use Epic and you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, and then I do like a care plan note for each patient for the night, like kind of what we did, what's new, how everything's going. Usually that lasts until about 7, maybe. Sometimes I get done early and I kind of just sit and wait for the next shift to come in, obviously asking if other people need help with anything. But then at 7 the day shifters come in, and 7 to 7:30 usually I'm giving report to someone else. If it's a really awesome day, then I'm giving report to the same people I got the patients from the night before. That's always the greatest. And then it always goes by a little bit quicker. That is like a typical shift in postpartum world. I'm gonna talk about now what happens when we get an admission, because that kind of doesn't throw a wrench in the night, but definitely makes everything a little bit different. So if I know that I'm getting an admission, typically we get them up on postpartum about 3 hours after they deliver. I will try to make sure that I have everything done that I need to get done, that I can get done before they come up. So like if I have to do a bath or hearing screen or anything like that, any of the tasks or vitals and assessments and stuff, if they're coming after 11, I will try to get those done so that when the admission comes, I can give them like as much attention as I can, because they need the most attention. We have set standards of vitals and everything for babies and moms, depending on how they deliver. If there is an assisted delivery with vacuum or forceps, if it's C-section or vaginal, or the baby's small or baby's big or whatnot. There's a lot of different things. There's a whole chart we have that tells you what you need to do, but that'll depend on hospital to hospital, so I am not going to go through that completely. So when we get a couplet up, the labor nurse comes up, we do bedside handoff. I usually do a fundal check and vitals right away while the labor nurse is in there, just to make sure that everything is the same up here, up on postpartum, as it was down in labor, because the last thing I want is to have a patient come up and not check them right away, and then feel something weird in the fundal check, and then have to like call the labor nurse and be like, hey, was it like this when you had them? And you know what I mean, just to make sure that we're on the same page. Then I kind of introduce the parents to the room. Usually it's the middle of the night, so they just want to sleep. I talk to them about all the tasks that need to be done before they go home, get an idea of when they want to go home, if they want to go home after one night, if it's not their first kid, and all that stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I actually really enjoy getting admissions, because I like getting that patient. I really enjoy getting admissions when it's like my first night of a stretch, because the goal is always to get those patients back again and like kind of see their progress and work with them throughout their stay. it is definitely super duper fun. So that is pretty much a typical shift, night shift working in postpartum. Obviously there's a lot of variable between that, like if something happens or if I have a NICU mom, or there's a lot of different things, but that's the typical shift if I have 3 couplets. That's what we do. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything specific, feel free to comment below or message me on Instagram. I'm a lot better about messaging people back on Instagram usually than replying to comments. Here's my Instagram too. If you don't follow me there, because I talk a lot. I'm very active on my Instagram. Yeah, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss when I go through my brain sheet. I think that will kind of explain how I organize my night a lot more than this right now. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.